A 5, a 4, a 3, a 2. Oh, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back to the back porch. We're not on the back porch
We're
today.
not. It's rainy and kind of drowsy.
But-
Not drowsy.
Drizzly.
Drizzly. That's
Drizzly.
what I'm going for.
Yeah, like our area, not here specifically, but we were dodging tornadoes last night around.
Yeah.
So back porch is wet, so welcome to the kitchen table.
Yes, we
But-
have a lovely plant.
Hey, let me tell you about this plant.
Okay.
This is a true story. I got this a couple of years ago from a student as an end of the year gift. I am like a plant murderer. I do not have a green thumb.
No.
So, true story, I watch weird stuff on TikTok and all that stuff. Plants, they say, knows they're human. Knows the person that waters it and all that stuff.
Okay.
And that's why you're supposed to talk to them. And between me and Stevie, my cat, who likes to eat this plant, I feel like this poor fella feels like it's a hostage.
Oh.
Yeah, and but I've actually even repotted it, so I've kept it alive for 2 years.
Nice.
Moral of the story is, it does feel like a little captive. It feels like a prisoner. It probably want's a real home, but the little plant's surviving. So that's my plant
Yay.
story.
I'm a plant murderer too, but lilies are really hard to kill. Easter lilies, like they can be almost completely dead. You add water and they perk up. So for people who struggle with,
I've killed
plants.
aloe plants.
Oh gosh.
I know, it's bad.
I killed a cactus.
Oh
I mean,
shit.
this is not our topic,
No,
but
we're not talking. Obviously, we're not herbivorous, horticulturalists. We don't even know what they're called.
an herbivore eats only plants.
Okay,
Right?
no, I'm not an herbivore.
I'm not either.
But I'm not a horticulturalist. We're not plant people. I appreciate plants. I cannot give you advice on plant care.
No,
I got a
definitely
zit going on today too.
not. Nice.
Yes, it's just good times. Good times on the back porch / kitchen table. All right, what are we talking about today, Mary? Okay, I feel like I'm gonna go out of frame every time let's see. How do I look?
I think you're beautiful.
Well, I think you're beautiful too. Thank you
well,
very much.
thank you.
Yes, look at us all beautiful.
We accept compliments these days.
We do. We're trying to get better at them. We are. Compliments are tough.
They are
But we're not talking about compliments today. We're talking about
boundaries.
boundaries.
Boundaries are hard.
They really are. And I did not realize I had no boundaries until I realized I had no boundaries.
You know, it's interesting because I feel like I should have realized it, but I didn't. I did not know. They say you don't know where you end and someone begins, and I did not.
Yes.
Like everybody else's feelings were, I accepted them as my own. And if somebody told me something that I need to do, I'm like, oh, well, you pull all that in and you don't have that clear cut, like, healthy boundary. So I can say, okay, this is me, that's you.
Right.
You know?
So, I'm the same way. I did not realize it.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I love my family. I love my family,
Oh, yeah.
but we are a family of no boundaries.
Yeah.
And I did not realize that until I started creating boundaries.
Yeah.
I'm like, my Lord, every one of us
Yeah.
will run over the next person
Yeah.
just to get their opinion
Yeah.
or, and like, I'm not trying to throw my family under the bus. I know
think most families are
yes,
like that.
everybody's like that.
Especially if you were raised and you're like codependent and like you said, every family has dysfunction. Nobody's perfect. But yeah, and boundaries are also like what is it? Like it's a guardrail. It's not like a cutoff for somebody else. It's like a guardrail to keep you safe,
Yes.
to keep the bad stuff out, so I can protect me.
So boundaries, it's something, as I said, I'm learning. I'm
Me
learning
too,
them.
yeah.
I've not perfected them because, you go so long, and I think when you're in like a situation or even a family dynamic where you've got such strong if you're surrounded by strong personalities,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For me, I was the littlest I was the youngest out of 6, right?
Yeah.
So, and boy, I got a lot of opinions my whole life,
That makes sense, yeah.
and this is how you should do this, and this is how you should do that, and this is how you should do this,
Yeah.
and for a long time I was like, okay, all right, and then one day I was like, what do I think about this, and how do I feel about this?
Right.
Am I doing something because Mama said do it, or Daddy said do it, or Big Brother said do it?
Yeah.
And I was a slow learner. Obviously, it's taken me well into my 40s to
Yeah.
realize I am my own person.
Right.
I am an individual,
Right.
and I stand on my own 2 feet.
Yeah, well, I think, and learning boundaries within your family is good practice because, so I'll give you for instance, and I'm not going to call anybody out. There's people that I don't know well, that I haven't been around, not a stranger, somebody in the past that you've worked with.
Sure.
And they're trying. Oh, I'll tell you a perfect example. This is perfect. It wasn't work. I was at Dollar General. This has been about 5 years ago, and it was Dollar Tree. I went to Dollar Tree, and there's this dude, and he comes up, and there's like 2 people ahead of me in line, and like 2 people behind me. And this guy comes up beside me. Hey, how are you? Starts grabbing stuff and getting really close in my face, and he's like touching me and all this stuff. I'm like, whoa, you do, and just crossing all kinds of boundaries, being almost sexual, but like not using sexual words, but you could tell the way he was brushing against me, the way he was in my business, and then saying things that were like not appropriate. And I felt violated. You know what I'm saying? It was really, and it was everything I could do not to turn around and be like, leave me the hell alone. Like, what is wrong with you? But I didn't stand up for myself when I should have.
Right.
But when you practice boundaries with people you know and love, it's easier to set a boundary, to me, with somebody who you're afraid of that's crossing all these boundaries. Because if you don't have boundaries, maybe you don't know when to stop. And maybe you end up in a really bad situation.
Oh, that's true. And boundaries are not always even physical.
Right.
But, I mean, they can be emotional boundaries.
That's true.
If somebody's prying into your business and you're like, hey, look, this is
my stuff.
Yes, and then they still, well, no, I'm your aunt. You need to tell me this. I'm your big sister. You got to tell me. No, you don't. You know. And I think most people probably cross boundaries without even realizing they're crossing them.
Right.
And they're probably doing it out of the best of intentions.
Yeah, they don't mean to.
Right. This is what's worked for me.
Yeah.
So by God, it's got to work for you.
Yeah.
And there's no other way that you can do it. So I'm gonna cross this boundary
and force it on
you because I know what's best for you.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about setting boundaries, I think there's different. I mean, there's boundaries you have to set, and then some boundaries that should be automatically known. I feel like it should be. But setting boundaries is where, like you say, sometimes you have to tell people, like, look, say you're on the phone with somebody and they're giving you advice that you don't want, or just, calling you out for something. Say, look, I don't feel like talking about this right now. With a boundary, if there's not a consequence, it's not a boundary. So you're going to say, like, for instance, look, I love talking to you, but if you continue to talk about this, I'm going to get off the phone.
Right.
And go do something else. And then if they continue to talk about it, then you keep that boundary. Yeah. And it's not a boundary without a consequence. That's what we've learned in therapy.
And it's so hard when you're not used to having your own boundaries, and you're starting to say, okay, this is my boundary. This is not something that I'm comfortable with.
Right.
You feel like such. I know when I did the first times I had set boundaries, and I'm learning to set them.
Yeah.
I felt like a bitch.
I do too.
I'm like, oh my God.
Because you're a really good codependent, and so am I. And yes, you feel guilty.
Yes.
And you're not. You're just taking care of you, but you feel, because you never have, you feel guilty about it.
Because you're always worried about, oh my God, how am I making this person feel?
And it's not our job to worry about how they feel.
Oh,
but it's hard.
It's so difficult. And it's so difficult because I've lived my whole life doing this.
Me too.
But I know I'm not the only person. What's so funny? One of my favorite sayings on face of this earth, and I got it from you. I don't know if you made it up. Once you see it,
you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it.
I don't think I made it up, but it struck me, and I don't know where I first got it.
I use it all the time because it resonates with almost everything.
It really does.
Once you take your blinders off, that, okay, this is how I've been living, and it doesn't even have to be, I'm going to look at the camera for a minute, hello. It doesn't even have to be about boundaries even. Right. It can be about anything. Yeah. Once you take off the lenses of this is how I was raised, this is how it's done, and this is the way it's got to be done, and I know no different. When you start looking differently, by God, it opens up a whole new world.
It does.
It's just crazy. But yeah.
And it's a fear thing. I think sometimes, this might seem odd, but like those glasses, those lenses that you always look through, it's scary to take those off.
Oh my God, yes.
You know?
Yes.
And it's worth it, 100%. But it's frightening. Starting therapy, starting boundaries, starting anything to make yourself healthy can be terrifying.
It is, and it's weird how it can make you feel just like, as I said, it like a mean person.
Yeah.
I've never had these boundaries, and all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to set this boundary with you, and you can't cross it because here's the consequence.
Yeah.
And you've said this, maybe, like I'm just gonna use you as an example. You're
Okay.
gonna be my example.
Okay.
Say you're crossing boundaries with me, and you have for our entire relationship. You know,
Okay.
no matter whether they're mental, physical, or whatever.
Right.
And I tell you, okay, Mary, don't do that. You got to
Right.
stop doing that. But there's no consequences.
Right.
Guess what?
Mary's just gonna
you're
keep
gonna
on
keep
doing it.
you're gonna keep pushing those boundaries. But
Yeah.
the day I say, okay, Mary, you're not gonna do that anymore, and if you do, and then I ask you to leave my house,
Right.
and you do it, and I say bye,
Right.
you're gonna feel a certain way.
Yes.
You're gonna get butt hurt.
Yes.
I'm gonna be butt hurt
Yes.
because it's something totally foreign for both of us.
Yeah. And it's
You'd be
scary.
like, who is this person standing up to me?
Yeah. And if you're codependent, you're going to worry the rest of the week about are they mad at you? And if you're on the other side of codependency, you're going to worry about are they mad at me for setting the boundary?
Oh my gosh,
But
yes.
it's a part of being healthy.
It is a part of being healthy.
And this was before I was in therapy a little, but not as much. But there was somebody that I'm not going to name, but that liked to preach to me all the freaking time. Stuff I didn't really agree with, And we were in the car together, and I was like, I don't want to talk about this. And if you want to talk about it, we're going to need to let you go ahead and go home, and I can take you to the car. Well, they got out right there. And I was like, okay. We weren't far from the house.
Right.
But then they had to walk up to the house and say, can I get my stuff out of your house? Because we were driving home. But that boundary was awesome because I had never said it before, even though that person knew I had said, look, I don't want to talk about this, but I'd never set that consequence before. And that made a difference.
Well, I will tell you, not having boundaries or not having consequences for boundaries, I have gotten myself in more situations that if I would have just listened to my inner self
Yeah.
and said, no,
Yeah.
but instead, because I have not allowed myself to have boundaries, I've got to own that. Okay,
Right.
it's not the people pushing my boundaries.
Right.
It's on me for not having them.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So when I have learned to start having boundaries and saying, okay, go with what you feel is right.
Right.
I am a believer. I'm a believer. Go with your gut.
Absolutely.
My gut doesn't lead me wrong
Right.
very often. And I mean, it has. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect, but if I get a gut feeling about something, it's
There's a
something.
reason.
There is a reason.
It's a warning.
And let me tell you what, I have went against that gut,
Yeah.
then talked out of that gut
Yeah.
by well-meaning people
Yeah.
pushing boundaries.
Right.
I'll give you a prime example. This is not political.
Right.
I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I got the COVID vaccine in 2021. I did not want it. I did not want it. I was like everything against. And as I said, I'm not anti-vax. And if you got it, we're not trying to start a controversy.
Right,
This is
I got
just
it.
me.
Yeah.
I didn't want it.
Yeah.
But I let people talk me into it.
Right.
And thank God I'm
Yeah.
okay. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a perfect example
Yeah.
of, okay, my gut is telling me this is
Right.
probably not the right thing to do. You've had COVID before.
Right.
You sailed through it,
Yeah.
you didn't have major complications,
Yeah.
you didn't even know you had it
Right.
until you lost your taste and smell, and then all of a sudden I'm going and getting shots because I've been talked into something.
Yeah.
Now, as I said, 4 years later, I'm
Yeah.
okay, thank God,
Right.
but I'm like, man, I went against my gut on
Yeah.
that. Everything
Yeah.
was telling me that's not something you need,
Yeah.
and I did it.
Yeah.
But anyway, as I
No.
said, not to get political,
No,
that's just a
no,
perfect
but
example of,
It is because it's your physical boundary and you're even an emotional boundary
right.
because you had a fear of it. I'm assuming I had a fear
Oh,
of
an
it.
absolute fear of it.
And you, instead of doing what felt good for you, you were like, oh, well, they want me to do this. I'm scared. Whatever. Let me do this. And
Right.
that is an example.
Right.
Like, you got to do what's best for you,
Yes.
and everything. And bosses, that's one.
Yes.
I mean, I'm very blessed right now to have a good boss, but there's been people in the past that will cross all kinds of boundaries. Can you come in to cover this lunch? Can you do this? And the more you do, the more they ask. And the more
See.
they ask and you do, the more. I mean, it's very much them taking over your life if you let it.
I
You
remember-
have to have work boundaries.
my first job, I had no, but my boss could call me and be like, come in. I'd be like,
Right.
okay.
Right, cool.
And I will never forget one night. I had plans. I was like 17, 18 years old. So, of course, I had zero boundaries.
Yeah.
But this is one time I did stick up for myself. My boss called and said, I need you to come in. And I'm like, I'm off tonight. No. And they're like, no, you've got to come in. And I'm like, no, I've got plans.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue with my plans.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I felt guilty and I'm going to get fired.
Right.
Then one of my coworkers, who was a good friend, I saw him later that evening. He came by where I was and he's like, it was your fault that we were in such trouble tonight.
Oh,
and I
my
said,
gosh. No.
time out.
Yeah.
I was like, how could that? I wasn't even on the schedule.
Right.
I was like, it's our boss's fault
For not
scheduling people. You know, I guess that was my first boundary.
Yeah.
Or my first stand up for yourself.
But it feels awesome when you do
it does, but it feels so foreign.
It does.
And it's almost a muscle memory. You've got to now. We're not suggesting that you just go out and be a total jerk to everybody because you don't want to do anything anybody says. You know, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not cross my boundaries. But the more you say, okay, this is my line, and we're not going to cross it.
Well, and the question is, so this has been for my codependency what I've learned from therapy. Like my motivation for doing this thing, if somebody asks me, will you do this? Okay, so I have to stop. Like, and you can even say, let me think about that for a second, or let me, get back to you. And that's hard too, not immediately saying yes. But is my motivation for doing this so they will be happy with me?
Yes.
Or do I really want to help? And I'm okay with that. Right. Anytime my motivation is not, do I want to do this? Is this helpful even for me or for somebody else? But if I'm doing it to make somebody else happy, that's codependency. That's not, and then I'm going to feel resentful later.
Right.
Because I didn't want to do that, but I did it for them to make them happy, and now I feel like crap because I was already trying to do this, and this.
Right. People are not responsible for your feelings.
Right. And you're not responsible for that.
And when you realize that and you start learning that, it's beautiful.
It is.
It's like, it's also lonely.
It can absolutely be.
Because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm my own island.
Yeah.
And in some ways, not that you're not, when I say I'm my own island, I'm surrounded by people who love me.
Right.
With family, with friends. I'm so incredibly thankful for that. So I'm not alone. I know that. But at the end of the day,
I understand what you're saying.
I've got to make my own decisions, and I have got to do what's best for me. Now it gets complicated when you throw a partner into the mix. Though,
that makes sense.
You can't just be a selfish jerk when you're in a relationship and be like, it's all about me, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Of course, you got to compromise.
Yeah.
But you don't compromise who you are.
Right. Absolutely.
And your boundaries.
Yeah.
Even marriages have boundaries.
Oh yeah, they need to. Yes. Every good relationship does. And what you just touched on that, it's I grew up my whole life seeking for someone else to make me okay. Yes. Seeking validation, seeking acceptance, seeking somebody in essence to save me. Like, because I can't do this, right? Like I'm so messed up and I'm so lost, and I would attach myself to people and like try to do everything they're doing because I thought they could save me. They can come in here and fix all my problems and all this. And it followed from person to person to person. And even God himself, like I'm not saying God won't help you and God won't fix you, but it became well, God's not fixing me. What's wrong with me? And it's like, no, I'm the only one. And I love the Lord. I do. I mean, I sound like Medea. I love the Lord.
Mary about to start preaching to us.
But I'm a Christian. I follow God and all that. But the thing is, I had to pick up the shovel. I had to save myself.
Yes.
I'm the only one, and that's where you're talking about alone in your little boundary island.
Yes.
I'm the only one that's going to take care of me. Yeah, when I was a kid, there were people that would do this for me and that for me. But as an adult person, no matter how I feel, it is up to me to take care of me, to protect me, to feed me well, to all that. Yes. It is my job.
And it's when you really realize that. Like, nobody really is coming to rescue you.
Right.
No matter what you believe religiously or any of that.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
And
that can be terrifying and it can be sad.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was when I really realized that. And as I said, look, if you called me in the middle of the night.
Right.
If I'm waking up, I'll come help you out.
Me too.
Right. So you're not alone in that aspect, neither more than I am. I know, as I said, I've got family, I've got friends, I'm not alone in that aspect.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's up to me to take care of me.
Yeah.
To make sure that I am getting what I need physically, emotionally, and all that.
Yeah.
It's nobody. I am a grown adult.
Right.
Now it is up to me to make sure that my minor child, my adult daughter, it's up to her to do those things now, right?
Right.
But it is still up to me to make sure that my minor child has got all those things, that he has got clothing, that he has got food, he can't go out and do that on his own.
Right.
But when you become an adult and stand on your own two, but can I say this also going back to kids?
Whatever.
Little kids.
Yeah.
we need to respect their boundaries too.
That's the truth. That is
We
the
do.
truth.
Just because somebody is a child,
Right.
and no is no.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And well, if they don't learn, if you don't accept their boundaries and you punish them for trying to have boundaries, what are they learning?
Right.
I can't
Boundaries
have
are not
boundaries.
no.
Boundaries are bad. you know?
Boundaries will get me in trouble.
Yeah.
If I have this boundary and I don't let this person do what they want to do or whatever, then yes, I'm going to get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Children deserve boundaries also. Now,
Absolutely.
does that mean your children run your house? And, you know, if Leo comes up to me and says, Mom, you know, I'm staying up till 3 a.m. and having a rager party, yeah, I can set that boundary and say, no,
Yeah,
you're
we're
not.
not going to do that.
But, you know, if I tell him, Leo, you need to go do something that is not, I can't even think of an example.
Well, I'll give you a perfect
Okay.
example, and I know you probably have never done this, but so there's food that I hate, right? Like
Right.
when I was a kid, and I don't remember if it was Brussels sprouts or what, but there was some food, and my dad didn't do this all the time, but I hated it. I knew I hated it, and it would make me gag.
Right.
And he said, just try it. I'm not going to force you to eat it, just try it. And I didn't want to because I had tried it. You know,
Right.
it wasn't like I had never tried it. And I knew that I would gag and it would be horrible. And for you to push, I'm not saying, I'm
I'm
just
guilty,
saying.
no, because I'll tell you why. But go ahead and I'll
Yeah.
tell you. But there's a reason.
Well, and I understand, just try it. Like,
Right.
you know. But if a child's already tried it, and there are people who will say, used to especially, finish your plate and then you.
There's
I was-
starving kids in Africa.
When
Yes.
I was in grade school, they would make you eat some of this, some of that, and I hated peas. And peas, I would throw
I
up
still
on
hate
you.
peas.
And so I would have to stick it in because you couldn't go to recess until you ate enough of your food. And so I would shove it in my milk carton.
Yes.
That's
listen.
boundaries.
No, but
Yeah.
my son, God love him, he has the palate of a 3-year-old. He has just never like been interested. Emma, my oldest, she'll try anything. I call her my foodie. I mean, even when she was a toddler, she's like, I'll try a salad, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, and she appreciates it.
Yeah.
Leo, not so much.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be like, dude, you got to try a bite
Just try it.
because your taste buds do change every 7 years.
Well, that's true.
And what you didn't like a few years ago, you might fall in love with.
Yeah.
But if he tries a bite, and I'll tell him, I'm like, you can try it, and spit it out if you don't like it.
Right.
And he will, and he'll be like, never again.
Yeah.
And I would not do that. I can't eat things I don't like.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
there are certain textures of food that will make me gag.
Yeah,
And if
well,
you're like,
that's me
hey,
too.
you got to eat this,
Like no.
no.
But that's what I mean. Like it'd be different if you're just wanting them to try an experience.
Right.
I get that.
No, I
But
don't.
when you know something's gonna make you sick and that person forces you to eat that,
Yes.
see, that is a boundary. Like
Well,
I'm gonna get sick. you know?
I do believe that children, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
I work with little
You
babies,
do. Yeah.
you know, and they can say yes or no.
Yeah.
And I really try, like, if it's something that is not, you know, going to harm them, if I'll be like, can I? And they say, no. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
No,
well,
no. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying?
good. Yeah.
I'll play with them all the time. I'm like, can I get your foot? Can I get? And sometimes they'll stick their little foot up in the air, and sometimes they're like, no.
So
I'm
you respect
I'm
it.
not going to grab their little foot
Yeah.
if they say no.
That's awesome.
Because we all deserve boundaries, and it is okay
Yeah.
to say no.
This is a perfect example. My grandpa used to, and he's gone, and I loved him. God rest his soul and all that. But he would tickle us, okay, as a kid.
Yes.
And it was funny at first, but he
Yes.
would count our ribs, and it became painful, right?
Yes.
Like, where this is not fun for me anymore.
Right.
But he continued as long as he was getting joy out of it.
Right.
And it wasn't sexual at all. It was just his fun, but it was painful to me. And we would ask, stop, I'm done, stop. And he would not. And that is a cross
Yeah,
boundary.
yeah.
And that's, and, you know, it's just,
I've had similar situations, not with grandpas, but
Yeah.
yes, and it's torture.
it really is.
When somebody is bigger than you
Yeah,
and physically stronger than you
yeah.
and
forces you to do
and
something.
forces you to do something that no matter what it is,
Right.
that's just wrong.
It
It's
is.
wrong. It's almost like being a bully.
Yeah.
You
When
know?
I'm like a 7-year-old kid and there's nothing I can do
Oh,
about it, you know. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
and it's important, I think, for people to respect those boundaries. I think
Yes,
you're right.
boundaries are super important, and the more you set them,
Mhm.
the better it is. Because
Yeah.
truly, you can have relationships. You can
Yeah.
have good relationships with boundaries. You
You
can
can.
have better relationships with boundaries.
That's the truth.
Because if I can look at you and say, honestly, what you're doing to me, it makes me really uncomfortable, and I'd
Yeah.
rather you not,
yeah,
then I can be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it might hurt your feelings for a
Right.
second, but if you can be mature enough to say, okay, I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Look, I got a coworker at work. I'm a hugger. I love to hug people, but
Yeah.
I got a coworker at her work that like I would joke around with, and I'd get her in a bear hug. And one day, her mom who works there was like, she really hates that. And I'm like,
no.
oh my God.
Yeah.
And I told her, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I
Yeah.
will not. And like, there are times like stuff's been going on. I'm like, I would hug you
Yeah.
if you were a hugger,
Yeah.
and we'll fist bump.
Yeah.
But I truly want to be a person
Yeah.
that respects boundaries because
Well,
I want mine respected.
And she didn't make her boundaries clear. And
Well,
that's
no,
something-
well, she might have, and I
Okay.
might have
Yeah.
misconstrued, you know, because people be
You're
like,
playing
oh,
around.
stop it, you know, playing
Yeah.
around. But still, you know,
Yeah.
I might not have been coming from a bad, you know,
Right.
or a negative, like I'm trying to hurt you.
Right.
But
But
still,
you
it's
still
like,
cross
it's like, okay, I'm sorry. I did
Yeah.
not realize really that
Yeah.
this was a thing for you, and I will try my best
Yeah.
not to do it.
Well, and there's like we talked about, like even the emotional boundaries. Like there's been times, and it was done to me growing up, and I've done it, tried to do it to my niece at times. Like try to control. Like it, say they're, I mean, it's not even something big, but they're doing this, and you're like, okay, here's advice. This is what you need to do. This, and this. And I've tried to refrain from doing that as much because I'm like, I'm trying to control their life.
Right.
Because I think I know what's best for them.
It is.
And even if it's just me talking and not saying, if you don't do this or whatever, but like I can put too much pressure. Like, here's an instance. Somebody wanted to get, it was my niece, it's been years ago. She needed gas money, I thought. And so I was like, well, I can fill up your tank. She's like, no, it's okay. And I was like, I asked her 4 or 5 times, well, you sure? You sure? You sure? And that's me trying to control her because of my fear that she's going to run out of gas
Right.
on the side of the road. She said, no, that's a boundary. She said, you know, I don't want you to pay for my gas. And if I'm constantly saying, are you sure? Are you sure? You want to, you know,
Right.
that's crossing boundaries.
And it's trying to make you feel better. That's your codependency flaring up. And I get, and you're coming from a good spot.
Right.
That's the thing. And it's a difficult line, I will tell
It
you.
is.
Because, you know, when we've lived life, we're in our mid 40s, late 40s,
Yeah.
you know, I'm pushing 50. Life gives you experiences. I do not think I'm any more intelligent than either one of my kids. My kids
not
are
at
smarter
all.
than whips.
Yeah.
Smarter than me.
Yeah.
But I've lived more life than both of them.
That's true.
Right?
Experience.
Experience teaches you things.
Yeah.
And I know part of that is coming from, look, I don't want you to face our experience.
Right.
So I want you to make your own mistakes.
Yeah.
I've made that mistake.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
And we're coming from good places.
Yeah.
I get that truly every 20-year-old, every 30, we all have got to make our own mistakes.
Yeah. I love that you're saying that. Go ahead. I'll
And that's the thing. That is one of the hardest parts of just parenting, loving, or just you know loving somebody who's younger than you, and you know, it doesn't matter if it's your kid, your niece, your nephew, or whatever. You want the best for them,
Right.
and you're like, if I can keep you from screwing up
Right.
every way I screwed up,
Yeah.
look how good your life's gonna
Right.
be. But at the end of the day, every experience we have
Yes.
makes us who we are.
I love this because so I have had people in my life that will not allow you to make a mistake.
Right.
You learn from mistakes.
Yes.
It's not saying you want to go make one that's going to end your life on accident, you know, but
Right.
but small things like making the bed. Hey, put this there, you know.
Right.
Hey, and even if it's the right thing, it's like some people are so controlling, like they don't let you make mistakes, and so you can't learn what's good or bad. Or
Right.
whatever. They're trying to put it all on them.
Life
Yeah.
is about being human. Is about messing up.
It is.
I
And
mean,
you learn
we're
from
not-
each experience.
We're not walking in perfection.
No.
That's not what that's not what the human experience
Right.
is about. You
Right.
know, if we were perfect, we wouldn't be human. I don't
Right.
think we'd be wherever the perfect people go. But they're not here. They're not here. Yes, everything you do, good, bad,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
helps form you into the person you are.
It does.
Every experience you have, and I swear I can look back and say, I wish I didn't have that experience. I would like to take that one back.
Yeah.
But truly, it has put me on this path to where I am.
Absolutely.
And every mistake, it's a learning lesson.
And I have seen in life where really bad stuff that has happened to me, I've been able to take that and use it to help others.
Yes.
You know, there's been so many times in my life where, like, yeah, I didn't want that to happen, this traumatic thing or whatever, but it happened to this person.
Right.
And now I can share, not try to control them, but share what happened to me and say, you know what? You can do this. You
Right.
can be okay. You just have to, you know, get help, get whatever you need. But it's
Right.
just hearing somebody's story. That's what my therapist says. your story is one of the most valuable things you have.
It is,
and
and
it's true.
and like people want to hide
Yeah.
their past
Yeah.
and their mistakes, their failures.
Yeah.
You know, and what's that going to do if you know? Look, my kids, I'm pretty open with my mistakes, and
Yeah.
my kids live with me. They have learned I am not a perfect
Right.
person. I'm not a perfect parent. I lose my
Right.
temper. You know, there's things that I definitely could improve. I sound like an abuser.
No, you don't.
But no, I mean I'm not perfect. My kids
Yeah.
have realized that. But I tell you, if I set a narrative that here's been my life from A to B, and it's
Right.
been this straight. I've got a line in the middle of my table, and I've walked this straight line,
Yeah.
and I haven't veered from it, and I
Right.
haven't screwed up. That puts a lot of pressure on your kids that
Right.
they don't even realize. You
That's
know, like,
true.
well, shit, mom and dad never messed up. You know,
Right.
mom and dad never underage drank. Mom and
Yeah.
dad never did this. Guess what? Mom and dad did a lot of stuff,
Right.
and we made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Now, do I share everything I've done with my kids? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But and the older they get, I'm pretty dang honest.
Oh yeah.
My
I
daughter
am
would be
too.
like, "Have you done this?" I have, and
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
have you done this? I have, and I think you should try it. You
Yeah.
know, the more honest I can be with them.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It is being open, and we've talked about like be open in a safe space.
Yes.
Like your home, yeah, that's
Right.
It's great to be able to be open with your loved ones, but there are places you don't want to like dump your trauma on.
Right.
You know
You're
what
not
I'm
going to
saying?
do it at the Thanksgiving table.
Yeah,
and
well,
say,
and some people use it against you if you're not careful. Like, you know, I'm not saying family necessarily, but some people, if you go to even some groups, you just have to be careful, you know. But
yeah. Well, you can't trust everybody.
Right.
That is true. And it's scary when you put your trust in the wrong person
Yeah.
and you get burned.
yeah,
I mean, I think we've all done that.
yeah.
But how do we went from boundaries to
I know.
I know. Hey, boundaries are important.
Boundaries are very important, and I think it all kind of ties in because there's so many ways you can cross boundaries.
Oh yeah.
You know, and if so, that's if I tell you something and you go gossip about it, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and I've asked you not to tell anyone. I
Right.
mean, that's a cross boundary.
Oh,
It's not
about-
even a direct cross boundary.
Listen, and it can be something innocent.
Yeah.
It can be
Well,
something
right, that you
innocent.
don't even mean
I will
to.
tell you. I remember when I found out I was pregnant with Leo.
Yeah.
I had told family and very few friends.
Yeah.
Very few friends because I've had a history of miscarriages and stuff like that. And it was like something I wanted to keep to myself. I wasn't ready to share with the world, right?
Yeah.
And so when I finally did announce it, now I told people I thought I could trust, right? And after I announced it like publicly, I was into my second trimester. I got a message on Facebook, and somebody was like, "Oh, such and such told me you were pregnant. I'm so excited for you."
Oh no.
And I was just like, you know,
Yeah.
I told that person in confidence.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to
Right.
share it with everybody, but this was a person I thought I could trust.
Yeah.
And this person is somebody I still love, but I realized I can't share a secret
Right.
with you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you have lost that privilege in my life that you're not going to be one of my secret holders.
Right.
And you know what? I'm sure I've been guilty of the same.
Oh, I think we all probably have at
like
some
you know, you
point.
tell me something, and I say as example, you know, say you won the lottery.
Yeah.
You know, you better.
Oh, I wish I did.
Yeah, I
but
wish
it's
you
not.
did too. But you know, and you're like, Kim, you can't tell anybody.
Right.
And if I go tell even my mom,
Right.
who
It's
who
would
you're
never-
close to,
Yeah.
right? I have broken that boundary with
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and I'm not trustworthy at that
Right.
point. So it's, you know,
There's a lot of ways to break
boundaries
them.
can be broken. We're all guilty of it.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I'm guilty of it still. I'm learning to have boundaries, but I
Yeah.
still break boundaries.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, when somebody says, "Hey, that's a boundary,"
Mhm.
not get butt hurt and be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I suck," and say, "Okay."
Well, it's interesting telling your truth, which has to do with boundaries.
Right.
Like this one wasn't maybe a boundary, but it was so used to. I had somebody that I talked to like every day, and it would seem like that person wasn't paying attention to me. And I was like, I started thinking, well, like, you know, it's because they're busy, and just because I want to talk to them every day, no wonder they're not paying attention when they're doing all this other stuff. So I was like, hey, you know, maybe we don't talk every day. Maybe we talk once or twice a week when you have time to talk.
Right.
And I was so terrified that they were going to be upset with me, but it worked for them. And because I told my truth and was open and honest, we have a 10 times better relationship.
Right.
And they have realized that I'm getting better and I'm more mature and stuff. And it's become beautiful. And it wasn't just that one instance, but because I was open with them and they accepted it and weren't upset and we worked it out, like it's beautiful how close I am to them now.
The more you heal, I'm not saying just you in general,
Right.
all of us, the more we heal
Yeah.
ourselves,
Yeah.
the better everything becomes. It
Yeah.
really does. The more authentic it becomes,
Yeah.
and you might lose relationships
You
out of
will
this too.
probably too. Yeah.
That's something that's kind of scary, but
It is.
you know, the people that really value you
Yeah.
are going to stick
They're
around.
gonna be
I'll
there.
tell you what, I've been going through the therapy thing for a while now, and I have lost nobody that means
Yeah.
that you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I'm proud of that. I'm thankful. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by love.
Yeah.
Are we perfect?
No.
No, none of us are.
No.
Are we all boundary breakers? Yes, we are. Are we all probably a little codependent?
Yes,
yeah,
we
we
are.
are.
But it's
I'm
learning healthier.
It's learning healthier.
There's not a place you reach where you're healthy,
Right.
but you can be healthier.
Right.
Nobody's ever going to be perfect. like you
No,
said.
and this is you could have lived the most perfect childhood with the most emotionally present,
Right.
non-codependent parents and all that, and you're still gonna have things that just I can better myself. There's something I need to better, and I mean that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, I think we're out of time. Are we out of time? Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know. I can't even tell. When did we start?
Yeah, we're way out of time. All right. So thanks again. Season 2 of The Back Porch is happening.
We are so thankful that you guys are checking in with us. Follow, share.
Absolutely.
And we love this video thing. We hope y'all are liking it. Let us know how you feel about it.
Yeah, and hopefully, I know we had a glitch, yes, last week in YouTube. Hopefully, you'll get to see all of our faces this time.
Yeah.
But really, thank you. It means a lot. The
Yeah.
people that are reaching out to us and saying, "Hey, we're listening, we're
Yeah.
learning." We're learning and
We are,
listening.
yeah.
We're definitely not experts, but
No.
I can tell you every week, it's kind of like free therapy for us.
It really is. Like we get stuff, and that's what started the whole thing. Was
Yes.
us just talking about life and trying to sort stuff out.
Right.
So we're doing it with y'all now too.
Thank you for being a part of it,
Yeah.
and we'll see you next week on The Back Porch.
Bye,
All right,
y'all.
here we go. Woo!